So you're going against a lot of stuff that people want to see. So I was like, damn, gotta subscribe.
Yeah, he got it caught with his hand in the cookie jar. But you used to work for Austin St. John in some capacity.
And I had a bad experience with JDF, which like I knew there was problems with Jacob over the years, but then like after reading everything, the court documents, everything, I'm just like, get this. I do not want this guy anywhere near the fandom.
What was going on around the time that the order came out, and then they said, hey, we're not going to do it anymore? All right, everybody, I am here with fellow content creator. Is it Airlim? All right, man. It's finally good to have you in an interview. I would have loved to capture you live. However, the 5-hour time difference, I'm usually streaming while you're asleep. Now, growing up, who was like your favorite ranger? Wow, so the Gold Ranger, I typically, this is the first time I've heard the Gold Ranger. Typically, most people, they say like the Green Ranger, because, Jason David Frank was, the most popular. Or, some people say the Black Ranger, or, usually the women say, yellow or pink. But for the Gold Ranger to come about, that is interesting. And if you listen to Austin St. John, he is the most powerful Ranger ever created. If you know the lore.
Really? Because there's like thousands now that all have different powers. So I'm a bit like, But Gold, I think his intro was the coolest. And I was just like, man, like, his outfit's awesome. So he's always my top one. And if he's the most powerful, it's fair. But, I'd be like, there's like 1,000 other ones that are a lot stronger now.
Oh, yeah. They didn't like, this is 30 years in the making. So, the Power Ranger community, right? Back in the day, Jason David Frank, he was the most famous one, and he recently passed. And typically my channel is kind of like we have a Green Ranger bias, if you haven't noticed. I don't know if you've been here. Are you familiar with my channel and the content I've done doing Power Rangers? Just off the...
I am. I think when you started covering Austin as well, a few people linked me and your name popped up quite a few times. So I went over and checked and subscribed because I was liking the content. Because again, not everyone talks about it, like goes that in detail. Everyone's just like, oh, I love the Green Ranger. It's like, cool. So you're going against a lot of stuff that people want to see. So I was like, damn, gotta subscribe.
Yeah. We do kind of a little bit more adult take of Power Rangers on my channel. And it's just, we've grown up. We're not kids anymore. So some of the stories that they may have told us back in the day, they hit a little different now. Let's just say that they hit a little different. But yeah, Austin St. John. What was your first video of Austin St. John that I covered? Because I've covered him a lot in the recent months. I
think it was the second time you did the court documents on him.
Oh,
there's the kind of follow-up. So,
the court doc. Yeah, he got it caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And this was unfortunate, for a lot of people to see, because for some it's either Green Ranger or Red Ranger, and even in your case, it's the Gold Ranger, to see your hero, if you will, the real life person, being caught up in something so dubious as, some PPP fraud. What'd you think of this when it first happened?
It's kind of weird because I don't want to say like, oh, I don't believe it type thing. Like I generally was just kind of like, why? Just why? And then little things kind of like popped up in my head, like the way that he said, like, they didn't have enough money and stuff like that. And I just kind of thought, I really hope you're innocent on this one, because if you really have put your hand in that cookie jar, then you're going to lose a lot of respect from probably not like all fans, but people are going to start treating you different. And that's what I think's going to happen. Like, I reckon, like, there's going to be jokes, there's going to be memes, and I've already seen a few like pop up and stuff. But yeah, I really like if he comes out innocent on this, then that's great. If he is sent down, if he goes for plea deal, if he does whatever, guarantee the fandom's going to look differently for the first couple of months, and then go back to going like, oh, we love you, Austin, so much.
Yeah, I do think he'll likely be convicted or plead out, and I agree with you. After a while, people would just go back to saying, hey, we love Austin St. John. We really don't care about the fraud or anything that happened, which is unfortunate, but people have short memories. But you used to work for Austin St. John in some capacity.
That I did. I was his only UK street team person, which at the time was absolutely amazing. I think it only came across because I know Mel and Susan, and they put my name forward, and it was just your reaction then. Yeah.
Well, Susan Matisse, she's a piece of work, but we'll get to her.
Yeah. So I did it the entire whole street team for the UK, and at first, again, I thought it was really cool. It was doing amazing stuff, but there was no, he wasn't coming over here. So, because the UK at the time didn't do a lot of conventions, so we had MCM, which was the biggest one, maybe LFCC, which is the second one. There wasn't a lot of conventions back 6-7 years ago, compared to what there is now. So having Austin come over here was probably once every couple of years, maybe once every 5-6, whatever. So I think he's only been over here twice in that time. So having a street team over in the UK doesn't really mean anything to me. So in the end, it was more I'm completely out, because after a while, I didn't see what there was to kind of be hey, I'm doing all this promotional work for you. I'm doing all of this to get you money and stuff like that. And cool, I get to meet you for five minutes, but that's it. And I get an autograph saying good work, person. I know, I had my name on it, but yeah. So I asked, one of my friends was on the JDF ambassador team. So I asked him, I was like, so what was the difference between this and this? And he was just early access to cons, and you got to actually meet him personally. And then I kind of thought about it, and I said, I bet you, he would sit down or go, guys, it's been great. Thanks for promoting me. Let's go out for dinner. And then they'd actually spend time. That's what my kind of recollection is on this one. Then you had 2 or 3 over here. But with Austin, it was more cool, thanks for promotion. I was like, awesome.
Holy shit.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, it just wasn't that great. So I left it in the end, and yeah, that was pretty much it.
I've heard the rumors that meeting them could be underwhelming, but you worked with him, which is interesting. So that means a one Susan Matisse, if you will. She's come up quite a bit with this whole JDF and Austin St. John. Did you ever interact with her?
I have. Susan and I were, I think back in the day, quite good friends. I haven't spoken to her for years after I started seeing all the posts and stuff that kind of went up over time. Let's just say it wasn't that great. And I kind of just stopped just interacting, because I don't know, I hadn't seen that side of someone, and as soon as that happened, I was like, look, I'm not gonna interact that much. But to be fair, when I first met her, it was actually back at the second Palmouth Con, so it was the first one that JDF went to, and if it wasn't for JDF, then I wouldn't have met her, and I had a bad experience with JDF, which
we want to hear about it. It's okay. We tell the truth over here.
Yeah. So when JDF went to the first Palmouth Con, it's the second one. The first one he was invited to, I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, this is the Ranger. His line was literally went all around twice the convention center, And I went up to him and I was just like, "Oh man, I'm so excited! Like you're one of my favorite Rangers! Like, oh my god!" And he just went, "Yep, there you go."
What?
And I was just like, "Oh, okay, okay." I've just spent like maybe a couple of hours standing in line from another country, and you just basically just signed my thing, didn't look at me, and I literally just walked off. Went, "Wow, what a fucking knobhead!" Like, and that literally just stopped all my love for the one character. Like, I was just like, I don't know what's up with you. Yeah.
Don't meet your heroes, man. It could have been an off day.
Yeah. Well, I thought that. And then when I was wandering around, I think it was like in the hotel lobby, I met Susan, and Susan was just like, "Oh, so, what do you think about meeting JDF?" And I was like, told her the thing. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she went through the backstory. Like, she told me a few things about him. She told me about his family, and she was really positive about it. And I think at that time, like, she was very kind of close to him, because, she was telling me all about his personal history, about his, like, stuff with his brother. And I was like, okay, I can understand that one. And I think at the time he was hungover, or something like that. I don't know. It was at the time I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. So I kind of saw that I made a friend out of something like quite bad at the time. So, I stayed in contact with Susan and Melanie as well. And, we formed like a really good friendship.
And that's what, is that Melanie Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have a relationship with them now?
I haven't spoken to them for years. I think after I started seeing a lot more stuff coming up on their Facebooks, I kind of like took a kind of a step back, and I was just like, look, if you want to message me, cool, but I won't do it first. And if they're watching, they're probably going to be like, oh shit, we hate that British. Fuck it. So, okay. But yeah, no, like, at the time, we were good friends. So, I'd speak to Susan quite a lot over time. Not daily, but it'd be it would be quite a lot. So.
Okay. And it's interesting that, you made a friend out of Susan, because Jason would go on to fire her, and then she would go work for Austin and start the whole, red is the new green and all that good stuff. So speaking, let's just go harken back. Did you cover Jason David Frank's passing? Did you?
I did. So when he passed, like, it was quite a big shock, because from all the photos I see now, I still think he's here. Like, I see people posting up like, oh my God, I took a picture of JDF when I was at Con. I'm like, that looks like it could have been taken last week. So. But yeah, like I definitely covered like his passing and stuff like that, because it's even if I liked or didn't like him, then I'm still going to talk about it, because as much as how what my reaction was, my experience, sorry, like I still know what he meant to other people, and I know that I've seen people talk about him, have the most amazing experience, and what he's done for the franchise as well. So I'm not going to be like, God, I hate him, and then like talk trash on him. I'm going to be like, look, I know what he's done. I'm not blind. So I know how much of an impact he had, or how he kept the franchise going and stuff like that. So he was a very big important part to the whole community. So.
Do you have a favorite Green Ranger episode, or did you just extreme out your memory once you had that bad experience? I'm
trying to think of the good episodes. It's gonna be Green with Evil is the biggest one.
Yeah. So that is a fan favorite.
See, I liked him when he was in Dino Thunder and Zeo. Like Zeo and Dino Thunder were quite cool. Dino Thunder is where you had the whole like conclusion of Tommy, whereas it's like I've gone from all the others. So I've gone through all the motions to I am now the teacher. So I always liked him as Dino Thunder or in Zeo. Those were my seasons. My morphing, I think he only became a better Ranger when he became the White Ranger.
And do you remember going to see the movie as a kid? Did you go see the movie? Did you get the ooze?
No, like the UK didn't do anything cool like that. But if we're talking about the ooze now, not as a free promotional gift, I liked it. I probably liked it a little bit too much, and now I absolutely hate it. The ooze is gone. That's the whole problem. They just go walking.
The ooze was all that, because we got it out in America, and kids would get to play with it, and all it was just slime. It was just slime, and it touched you, and now you evil. Under the spell. I mean, as an adult, you look back at things like this, and you're like, this was so cheesy, but you still can't take your eyes off of it. It was like the coolest thing ever. When they introduced the White Ranger and all that good stuff. But speaking of his passing, what did you think when Zach Taylor McGinnis made that heinous post about JDF? Because it kind of like rocked the community a bit, if you will.
So because we were friends on Facebook, I was scrolling. I didn't originally pick it up because I thought it was like another like, oh, we're sorry for his loss. So I think it was, I don't know if it was after seeing your coverage or something that I went back and looked and went, holy fucking shit. God damn. And I was just like, right, no, unfriended. But I read it all and I was just like, you can't say stuff like that. Like, that's scummy. That's fucking disgusting. I don't care if they had this massive beef or like this whole thing. You don't say this sort of stuff. Like, so I was just like, no, like, get rid of him. And I purposely just don't think that he will. I don't think that he's gonna kind of, if he comes out and says like he's so super sorry, which I think he did, I don't believe him, because you wouldn't kind of like write that out and go, oh yeah, this is really good at this time, let's post it on this. So I really, really don't think that he means it. I don't think he's sorry. I don't think any amount of words. And I was just like, Austin, you need to get rid of him. Like, you need to just get rid of this guy, because if this is a guy that's whispering in your ear going, like, oh, you hate JDF, like, oh, he fucking hates you. Oh, you green. Oh, he came and took your leadership from the Power Rangers. Oh, yeah. Like, I'd just be like, no, like, get rid of him. Like, just get out of here.
And, surprisingly, Austin St. John, to my knowledge, this is still his booking agent.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Like, I think we've discussed, like, he's in a contract. But the fact is that Austin could easily get any role, any convention role that he wants, because he could just put him out there, or get someone else to do it. Like, say, hey, could you take me on as your agent? There's loads that I've met over time in the Power Ranger community that are absolutely amazing. That would do so much for Austin. But I don't know if it's Austin's like, it's like, oh, he's my boy, so I've got to stick with him. He's helped me through thick and thin. Or maybe Zach has a load of stuff on Austin that he's like, God damn, maybe I shouldn't say this. Like, if I poke the bear too much, then suddenly all my DMs get leaked, or this is what Austin was really like, type thing.
Wow. And, this is amazing coming from you, considering you met him, you worked for him for the UK street team, he did his promotions, and then he does stuff like this. And, Austin, he put out like some statement like, hey, man, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes and no one's perfect. We need to forgive him and all this other good stuff. And I was taken back from it, because I'm thinking like, someone like Austin would, who claims to stand on principles and morals and walking away from Power Rangers, he would have severed his business ties with Zachary Taylor McGinnis, but he did not do that. And it's just like, I mean, as I start covering him, I start seeing misstep after misstep, if you will. Career-wise, like, he hired Zachary Taylor McGinnis, who was fired by Jason David Frank. He went with Susan Matisse, who also was fired by Jason David Frank. So you have this Austin St. John guy taking up all these collectibles of people that Jason David Frank, I hate to say disposed of, but kind of like severed his business ties. So if you want to be the most popular Ranger, maybe do what the most popular Ranger does, right? And if he says, hey, these people are bad for business, I don't know. I can't speak to his business moves or his business acumen. I know he does the fan work. Have you heard of fan work by any chance?
Yeah, like I tried checking it out, and I think when you have to pay for something like this is the reason why we left the show. It's like, yeah, but like you turned around in many interviews, many times, and gone, yeah, this is the reason why I've left. I don't need to pay $10, $20 just to go and watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it, and they do, for the most part, rehash the same thing that they've said in other interviews, with one caveat being that they said Jason David Frank was in agreement with the strike. Do you believe that he was in agreement with the strike? You can say yes, or you can say no. This is no, like, hey, I know these questions are not planned, so
yeah, I don't think so. Like, I think that JDF was, not unless he wanted to get Austin out. Like, if I say that, if I say this, then he'll go off and do it, and then I'll be like, oh, I didn't say it. Like, I didn't say this whatsoever. But at the time, I wouldn't imagine that like JDF would say, okay, yeah, I'm with you, let's go out, because if this was planned around about the time of where he left the show, like JDF left originally because of the footage, then all those like kids that was like, oh yeah, we want him back, like, we're not going to eat until he comes back. You kind of think that if Saban was like, look, mate, we're going to give you a lifeline, like, do you want to come back? You'll be a brand new Ranger. And it's like, okay, cool. You're not going to be like, well, thanks for having me on the show for like 2 weeks. I'm out with like Austin and Walter and all that. It just wouldn't make sense. And I imagine that, JDF would have like stayed and gone, I'm not going to walk out with you because of this. Like, to me, it wouldn't make a practical business sense, So yeah, I think that JDF would have just literally gone, nah, I'm staying. Like, you go and walk out. That's absolutely fine.
And I'm in agreement with you. And I've saw like several interviews where JDF was like, hey, no, I was never with the strike, and I warned them, and they wanted $1 million per episode, things in that nature. Now, before we get to our next topic, do you remember the Austin St. John versus JDF beef, if you will?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Do you think it was real? Do you think it was fake? I mean, you have the whole Bish script thing, things like that. Do you think it was a media hype, if you will?
I don't think it was media hype, because I generally think, when I think of media hype, I would imagine it'd be on the news, it'd be everywhere. And most fans don't really remember it or even know about it. Like, they feel like it's a special thing, or it's just popped up. But I do believe that it was 100% real. I feel like that they would constantly argue. And I remember being told that at the 2017 movie premiere, when JDF went up and said, hey, let's sort this out, I think Austin said something like, oh no, there has to be something like this between us, or this will never. It was something along the lines of that. And I generally kind of thought, it's been X amount of years, you're no longer working on the show. Why can't you, just for the fans at least, be one of those things that you stand side by side, shaking each other's hand, smiles, going, oh, I hate you so much. I really want this over with. That sort of thing. Like, just be friends. Because at the end of the day, you both made it, that picture there. Where JDF's laughing, that's literally like, you can imagine going, I hate you so much, like, I'm green, I'm the best Ranger, you're the only rival I'll ever have in history. It's just like, they could have got over it. Like, I always imagine that whoever walked up to someone's booth first at a convention extended their hand and said, let bygones be bygones, and the first person to slap the hand away would have been like, see, I've made up with whoever, like, they just don't want me doing this, like, it's their fault. And yet they could have done so much for the fandom. Like, it's just, it was unnecessary. And I don't know if Austin was super proud, like, oh, I can't do this because he took my limelight. It's like, you were the original Red Ranger. No one, like, there is no one on this earth that could take the limelight from you, compared to JDF. So it was just pointless drama that one of them had to keep it up. And I'm just like, Okay, cool. Well done. Well done, boys.
Well, to be fair, I am in agreement that, there was significant issues between them getting along. And I don't think, it takes two people to squash the beef. If Jason wanted to squash it and, Austin St. John or Jason Lawrence Geiger didn't, then the beef is still on. But, sadly, we will never get a Green and Red Ranger panel. And I think it is unfortunate, but, this, I don't know, bitterness, jealousy, maybe. Because, Jason was the more popular one. And, imagine you being the Red Ranger and you at a convention and you see everyone in Green Ranger suits and outfits and they come to you for a signature. I mean, you're going to sign it. But at the same time, you would hope that you get a little bit more Red Ranger representation.
Well, I think with Red Ranger representation, it was always there because in the hearts of when we grew up, Red Ranger was the first one to morph on screen. He was the one there. Everybody loved who he was, and regardless of all the others, everyone wanted to be the Red Ranger. It's oh my god, I want to, when we go play in the playground, I want to be Red Ranger. Jason does this, and then you have the Green Ranger that comes in, whips them all really quickly, but then that it's the Red Ranger that took down the Green Ranger in the end. And it's one of those things where, if Austin didn't see that, then it's man, you've got to let that stuff go. 100% let that go, because you're always going to have the Sixth Ranger is always going to be the coolest one, and then later on he becomes the coolest one in Zeo. So, it's more why didn't Austin just kind of slowly let us go? I can understand until say halfway in, maybe 15, 20 years, but 30 years, it's just if you're holding that beef, come on, that beef's old. No one wants to eat that beef anymore.
Well, let him tell it that, it was a media hype and there was no beef and all this other stuff.
I mean, Jacob thing is media hype.
All right. Let's get to the Jacob said it was a media hype. And guys, if you guys don't know, Jacob Frank is
I wanted to get
is right here. This is This is Jason David Frank's son, Jacob Frank, who put out what looks to be a PR video, if you will. What'd you think of it overall?
As my thumbnail says, he is vile. I knew there was problems with Jacob over the years, but then after reading everything, the court documents, everything, I'm just get this. I do not want this guy anywhere near the fandom, and I think he is scum. I think he just needs he needs to be put in jail and just kind of pushed aside. And I absolutely hope to God no one goes, and I've seen one person say it, be oh, he needs to be the next Green Ranger. I would rather a fish or a rock be the next Green Ranger, and I will buy all those autographs and support that, than Jacob goddamn Frank. Oh, I hate him.
well, hate's such a strong word. But he did get endorsed by Power Morphicon. Austin St. John endorsed him. And there has been I don't think Austin St. John is removing the post. I think he turned the comments off. Oh, no. Comments are still on, but it's he has to probably set them all to review. Do you think Austin St. John should do anything about this post in light of his criminal record being kind of shared to the fandom?
Take it down. In my video, as I said, what you should do is take it down, put up a statement, a quick video. It doesn't have to be super long. It could just be something the light of day when I first met him, I didn't know anything about this, and I don't endorse him whatsoever. So I know, because I can see it on the stream, I tried typing in a few things into that video, and it literally goes blank. So I think he's reviewing all the posts and stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, what are you doing? Like, I don't know if it's like, oh, if I can't see it, it's like, oh, la 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 type thing.
It's a la 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 type thing. It's 100% a la la la. If I don't acknowledge it, then it never happened. I would imagine is the Austin St. John thing. I mean, he even, he said this, he met him at Pasadena Con, and, he wouldn't have it any other way than helping JDF son sell his father's merchandise on his meaningful journey. But you saw the court docs. You know about the crimes he's been convicted of. He pled out to. You know about his probation situation. How does that all come into play with your thoughts on Austin St. John and maybe Jacob Frank, if you will? Do you think Austin is aware of Jacob's criminal history right now?
I hope he's aware of it now. If he isn't, then goddamn Austin. I think at the time though, he wasn't aware, and I'll give Austin the benefit of the doubt, because if I wouldn't start. So this is where I'm a bit 50-50 on it. So where Jacob comes up and says, "Hey Austin, blah blah blah," like I wouldn't expect Austin to kind of know everything about Jacob's past or know about this. Like I will give him that benefit of the doubt. But I know Susan and Mel know about Jacob and how much of a bad apple he is. So I would imagine that, because obviously this has to go through them. And I know that there's a difference, because Austin said, if anything is signed Austin St. John, that is Austin. If anything is Team Austin, that's, I'm guessing at the time, Susan and Mel, or it could be maybe someone else that's on that team now. I would imagine that they would have looked into this and gone, right, before we post this off, let us have a look. Let us look more into Jacob. And again, if they didn't know that then and they've seen this now, they need to turn around, take the video down, put up a small video and just say, I didn't know. And then I think that would be absolutely fine. And that they won't be conducting any more business with Jacob, because this is damaging to him as well, because other people are slowly starting to see this. This will come out. People will talk about it. And if they go, oh, yeah, we didn't know. It's been like 5 months. You're like, it's been 5 months, guys. Come on. It's that sort of thing where it's like, you've been told this. Why aren't you acting on it? You can't stick your head in the sand and go, oops, I didn't know about this.
Well, I do know Power Morphicon owner, I think his name's Scott Zillner. He used to have a picture with Jacob Frank on the Power Morphicon page. And if I recall, Jacob Frank was going to start being at more cons. Since it kind of got out about his criminal history, the picture of him and Scott has been removed, and there's no mention of him attending cons. However, the post is still up on the Power Morphicon website. What do you think about that?
So I know one of my close friends helps work with Power Morphicon. So I literally, as soon as I saw, I think your video, I linked it to him and I sent him all the information as well. And I think like the next day he just went, it's done, it's sorted. Like Jacob's not going to be a problem, or he's not going to be an issue, whatever. So I imagine that's been sorted, that he's not going to be at cons. As it for it being on the website, I'm hoping that comes down very, very soon, because even if behind the scenes you're like, okay, well nothing's been said, or everything's been said behind the scenes, then this still speaks loud, because people are going to see it and go, hang on a minute, are you endorsing this guy? Is this going to be a thing? So I'm hoping that the post goes down, depending on whether they do it, and do it quite soon. As long as he's not at any other cons, then I'm very happy he's not going to be at cons.
Okay, and you did point out, I saw your video, how like the signatures on the JDF merchandise that he has for sale look different in some of them. Like I know this this card right here, for 100%, well, this signature looks way different.
Yeah.
Then
I think he's going to turn around and sign it himself.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. Yeah, this signature looks way different than let's just say some of the other ones per se. Like, I'm not trying to say it's not the right one, because Frances said some of these are real and she remembers him signing them, but all of the signatures do look a little different. And you brought attention to the high prices, like $3,500 for this TV magazine. Like, what?
Yeah, I think I look, if he signed a few other things, I think like fair enough, but that they don't link that well, like they don't look like anything to me. They look completely different. So I had to look back at the one that I got signed at the second MorphCon, and they've always been very consistent. But 500 for a TV thing, like that doesn't, like, why? Like,
you don't see the value.
No, like I can see the value to some degree, but not 3,500 or 1,250. Like that, I can't even give you words on that one. Like,
look, price gouging. These are, I think, as you said, Zach Taylor McGinnis type prices. $6,500 for this premiere signed JDF original ticket. Like, this is wild. If JDF was alive, he would never sell anything for these type prices.
No, not at all.
I wonder if is his son in some like legal trouble or anything like that's driving to sell his father's products. Perhaps I'm really not sure. I mean,
I think that he is very much wanting to capitalize on this, because like any other celebrity, as soon as they pass on, like any autograph that's out there is slowly going to start like drying up. It could be in like, say, 10 years that, suddenly someone brings out like, oh, I have like 3 autographs and they're like 10 grand a pop. And I think that's what drives it. But the problem is, like, it's way too much. Like, I would not want to spend that much money on like a poster or a card, that I would want something authentic with it. Like, I would want like it properly looked at. If I'm going to spend that much money, I want a proper certificate of authentication. Because could you imagine, like, you spend that much money and then in 10 years' time someone goes, oh, no, that's not his. Like, that's Jacob's handwriting.
Oh, my goodness. I would be mortified. I would be mortified. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Speaking of money, what do you think about, I know we talked earlier about the movie The Order. And money was collected to the tune of about $140,000 for a movie that never came out. What's your history with this? You've been in it a lot longer than me. What was going on around the time that The Order came out, and then they said, hey, we're not going to do it anymore?
So at the very beginning, I know Karen reached out. I think either she did it herself or through one of my friends. I was just like, hey, do you want to interview Karen and co if you want to talk about The Order? And I was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. At the time I was like 100%. So we went through everything, and then I think I got a follow-up like a lot later, because I don't know if I asked or if they just messaged me, and I was just like, well, the main question was, what happened to The Order? Because it was going around that it was never going to get made, etc. And the person told me, it was like, look, SAG came in, they shut it all down, and they put it on hold or something like that, and those location places were like draining the money, and everything just absolutely went. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm is this going to get done? And I think at the time that they said that they were going to try and like raise the money through conventions and stuff like that, to try and put the money back in. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then nothing got kind of mentioned. Absolutely, like nothing. Some of the people that I used to know should like, you should go up to Karen and you should ask her. Like, it'd be really funny if you talked to her about it. And I was just like, I don't think I really want to go all the way to America, go to a convention, and then get kicked out, and then
you definitely get kicked out. You know what I've realized when I start covering Power Rangers with a more adult take under an adult lens. You could be considered controversial just for saying, hey, what happened to all the money to the order? Did any of these 1,300 backers that donated to this cause get any type of compensation for a movie that now we know it's never going to come to fruition, even though they were promised perks such as a free comic book or being in the movie, some autographs, hoodies, merchandise. I would feel like I got scammed if I donated to something for a shirt and they said, sorry, we're not sending you the shirt because SAG came in and took all our money.
I think that even with the stuff that you got backing wise, that should have been still sent out. So if they haven't sent it out and they haven't kept up their fulfillment, then it's you're kind of breaking the agreement, the contract that you have with them. If I turn around and said, okay, I'm going to donate $1,000 right now, and I was promised all this sort of stuff, and it's X amount of years that I've not got it, I'd be like, well, where is my stuff? It's one of those things. Then if I was in the area for a convention, I would go up to Karen and say, hey, I backed you for this, here's the proof, here's my receipt, here's $1,000, I paid $1,000, where's my limited edition stuff? And I would expect her to turn around and say, oh yeah, okay, this is the reason why it didn't happen, here you go. Do you want autographs, do you want whatever, or do you want to wait? I'd be like, well, where is it? You have to give backups. And I feel like when you see the order and you see say Mike Copeland sort of stuff, is if any
the Ranger movie.
Yeah. And the same thing is with fan projects as well. It's when you burn people don't want to have to turn around to the point and go, oh, another Ranger project? Oh my God, it's I got scammed off the last one, or this never happened. What the hell? And it puts a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And that's what really irritates me, because someone will come along and go, perfect idea. Oh, we can't get funding because I'm now associated with these ones or whatever. So they either have to make the project and then hope that they'll get funding to get the costs back. And that's what I kind of feel puts people, it just puts a damper on this sort of stuff. So with the order is Karen should be giving regular updates. It doesn't have to be every single day, but as long as you're telling people, hey, no, this is definitely coming out, setbacks, this is what's happening. But she also goes to the conventions, she signs, so she could turn around and say, okay, if I'm going to sell autographs at $60, then $30 of that goes back into the order, 30 goes into my pocket, and then helps me live and stuff like that. It just shows that you're willing to try it and not be like, oh, what's that? A rug? Oh, swept under that. There you go.
Well, someone who is notorious for getting donations but also delivering is Amy Jo Johnson, who raised $500,000 in the short time of 45 minutes to deliver the Return new comic series. And I have to say, I was pleased. I mean, she had 5,800 backers and raised almost $600,000, which is phenomenal. What do you think about that in itself?
So, I think that if it was Amy's own project, I don't think it would be backed that much. But when it comes to Boom Studios and stuff, is that they know that they're going to get a product out of this. You can't really say, hey, if we don't hit this isn't going to go to print, because they've probably paid her already. They've done all the normal stuff that goes through. But when you see the backing of again, funded within 45 minutes, not many projects get funded that quickly. And I think it's here are the perks. You've already seen the artwork. Everyone knew that comic book was coming out anyway. So this is kind of more of a, hey, we're still going to make this project anyway. So, you're just getting the hard book covers, you're getting free pins, you're getting, I don't know why, sticker sheets, but you're getting all this sort of stuff. Even if this doesn't happen next year, or at the time when this came out, it'd be oh, next year, this is when the return's coming out anyway. So this is just more of a way of saying, hey, we want to push these like massive big books on you, because there is a collector's market. Look at how they did it with the original ones, where it's just like, we've already released these issues, but if you want them in a massive collection, like massive art set, then you can get these books straight away. And I feel like that's the difference between, like, say, The Order or Survival's Edge. So it's fine. Survival's Edge. On that one.
The Order. Oh, here we go. Survival's End. Survival's End right here. Austin St. John's endorsed. Now, what do you say to the people? I have an antagonistic person on my channel. His name is Brent. And he says, Brent. I think everyone knows Brent. Who says people should read the fine print where flexible goes means that, hey, when the campaign ends, all funds will get, go to the person no matter what. And people should be smarter donators. What do you say to his argument on that?
I think that if you're giving a set amount of money, if they're promising you something, I don't know, say if you donated $10, Austin would give you a high five at a convention, then it should follow through. It's more like, why should I donate? It's effectively, why should I donate to your project for me to get absolutely nothing back? Like, and if it's in the fine print, then it's like, well, why should I give my money? I don't agree with Brent going like, it's in the fine print. Like, it's more, Brent, why? But
well, he won't say anything negative against Karen Ashley or Austin St. John. So he said no matter if Austin St. John is convicted or not, he's going to look into it, but ultimately he's still going to support him.
I mean, that's absolutely cool. If he wants to, like, I'm not going to say stop supporting any of these rangers or actors or whatever, but the way that I always see it is like kind of take a step back and say, right, well, would your hero take money from you and then give you nothing? It's like going up to a booth and saying, hey, I really want your autograph. And then you hand them X amount of money and then they just say next and you don't get anything. So like they've just gone, thanks to me, 65, and put it in the pocket.
I mean, it happens. It happens. I mean, I typically don't donate to like these Indiegogos or, even with someone like, as popular as Amy Jo Johnson with the Kickstarter, which is Boom Comics, that is going to happen. Some people did, and some people got the perks. But I just don't like crowd-funded projects per se, because sometimes people can get a little scammy when the money come in, or overpromise, underdeliver. Hey, I need $1 million to do this comic, and then it looks like a $10,000 comic that anyone could have made. So, have you ever donated to any Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
Yeah.
Oh.
So on Kickstarter, I've done a few, but I've always known that they're very credible. I did Shenmue 3 when that dropped, because it was one of my favorite game series. I did do The Return, and my main thought was, I think I went for $85, and I went, please don't let the story be shit. Please don't let the story be shit, because if it was, I'm like, I've just wasted $85. Like, I could easily have spent $3 on a comic book.
So $85, you get the complete pink hardcover set. What did you think of the return of the story? How did you feel about the whole, Amy Jo changing her character's name, and the Red Ranger, Austin St. John, out there still fighting crime? And what do you think of the whole the return comic book story?
I kind of, for the first issue, I kind of like where it's kind of going. Like, I think it's going to be a very interesting story. I just don't want it work up to like the best thing and then fall hard like Shattered Grid did, which really annoyed me. But I it leaves me. See, I absolutely love the story for Shattered Grid, but the second that they turned Draken into Superman, And you said like, he's not had loving parents. I was just like, all that hype, and then you dropped the ball. You fumbled it so hard, and I was just like, like I didn't like it. But I'm hoping the return does something really, really well. I hope they don't involve time travel. I've just thought of that right now, but I like where it's kind of going because it is slowly being a darker like story than we've had, and I hate Kimberly in this. I really do automatically.
She's not Kimberly anymore. We watched the live reading of it. We watched her and David Yost do it live. We streamed it. What's her character's name? Isn't like Emma or something?
Emma Phillips.
Yeah. You don't like Emma Phillips? She had changed her name and.
So that's me leads into the story of like, that's actually, I want to know what's forced her to change a name to it. But it's just like you have Billy and you have Zach, and they're going like, we want to like produce teleportation like thing to help like everything from like bringing food in to like, places that can't get food to the point of where we can get rid of diseases, we can teleport stuff out at micro level. I'm like, that's really cool. You want clean energy that's going off the morphing grid. Absolutely fine. And then you have Emma, formerly known as Kimberly, coming in going like, I don't like that. I told you not to do that. Why aren't you listening to what I'm saying? Why aren't you listening to what I'm saying? I told you. And then in that same issue, she goes, oh, yeah, I told you not to do it. And then she just disappears for 22 years. I'm like,
now, okay.
What? And then she comes, sorry.
All right. Now, what did you think? I thought this series was a little bit meta. Because Amy Jo Johnson is, when it comes to hanging with other Power Rangers, she's really not that big social, hey, you're going to catch me at the con with all these other Rangers. We're going to do this panel. What did you think about her, like, excluding, everyone, that was not Mighty Morphin?
To be fair, I've heard lots of stories over the years about how Amy doesn't want anything to do with this fandom. Yeah. So my earliest stuff that I've been told, and this is from people who worked on the con.
Give us the juice.
So I can't stand Amy Jo whatsoever because I feel like anytime that like this is the thing, like she produces an okay comic book so far, and I'm like, okay, I will give you money for that one. But yeah, like over the years, anything when Power Rangers pops up, she wants to be like, nope. Don't want anything to do with it. So I know she went to one convention one year, and this was like years and years ago. And you had like most of the Mighty Morphin cast there, and she was on like another it was like 2-layer convention, and she was on like, I want to be placed on the second level away from them. And I'm like, why would you? That doesn't make sense from a business point of view, because if you're with all your castmates, then it's like, okay, I've been to Walter, I've been to David, I've been to JDF, and then I can go to Amy and get all the autographs done. It would make sense rather than people going, do you want to go to the second level? I can't be bothered. We'll get Amy at the next con. It's that sort of mentality. I know when she came back into the scene originally, she was having a music, she was doing a music signing, and like she had loads of people come up with all like stuff that signed from Power Rangers, and she just went, I'm only signing my CDs and stuff that you buy from here. If you don't, then I'm not signing anything. And I was just like, no, why would you do that? This makes no sense, because I think they had like people come in like with Pink Ranger dolls, like, or merchandise back then. I'm just like, why not?
That would turn me off as a fan.
Yeah. She came to Wales Comic Con quite a few years ago, and I actually went there, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll get to meet her, because at the original, the first JDF MorphCon that he went to, Power MorphCon did this really nice concept art for Dew Ranger, and it had all the Ranger, the concept design, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And it was my mission to get every single Ranger to sign it. Amy was the only one that hadn't signed, that didn't sign it. So I took it to her. She didn't give a like a flying whatever to it, because when she signed it in the worst possible position. And I was like, I can't get this framed now, so this is just going to be in the thing. I asked her for an interview, and she's like, yeah, no problem. We'll do it whenever. I was like, okay, is like on the Sunday, is this absolutely fine for you? And she was like, yeah, it's just that all these people are coming, and I was like, that's absolutely fine. Like, I will interview you whenever convenience for you. And she was like, okay, let's do it tomorrow. And in the evening, I was like, that's great. So I turned up on the second day, went up to the stand, and I was like, oh, where's Amy? And she went, yeah, she bailed. She just literally left to go to look around the next city. And that was my hometown as well. And I was just like, but it's midday. The con's just opened. She's like, yeah, she was just here for her photos, and then she just literally just left.
Oh, like, she spun what? You.
Yeah.
She spun you.
Yeah. Now, me personally, I have no problem. Like, she wants to do whatever she wants to, but when there are people that can't come on a Saturday that go, oh, I'm going to go on a Sunday con, I'm going to go there, and they come up to her and go, where is she? And she's like, oh, she's just gone, she's disappeared, she's left the convention. I'm like, those are the fans that she's hurting. Like, why would you leave where you were earning, I think she was earning like $6,000, and that's just from signatures alone. And I was like, why would you leave that? And she went off with a guy from Heroes, Matt something or other. Matt, yeah. And I was like, why are you going around my hometown when you've got a convention full of people that want to meet you? So yeah, I lost all respect for her over the years. I was just like, I'm done, Amy Jo. And yeah.
So you had a bad experience with Jason David Frank and a bad experience with Amy Jo. Any other Power Rangers you just had a bad experience with?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Not really. I had SPD Red. Like, I interviewed him, and every single time in this interview, I was like, so what was it like being this? Like, what was it like on show? And he's just like, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's absolutely, yeah. Power Rangers, what? Yeah. And that's literally what he was doing this entire interview, where, because he was in the corner as well. He got like 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes out of me, where everyone else had like loads more time because they were answering questions and it was fun. I think that's the only one I can remember, like, out of all of them I've met anyway. So
Jesus. Now, do you go to cons often, or how does it work for you with Comic Cons?
So Power Morphicon used to be the one that I used to go to a lot because I enjoyed it. I've been to Ranger Stop as well and enjoyed those conventions. So I don't get to go to as many because all the best ones are in America. Over here, it's just like we get occasionally good ones. The highest one we've had was Comic-Con in Liverpool, and it had 11 Rangers, which I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was meant to interview pretty much all of them, and the con was like, nah, you're not allowed that, because someone interviewed Dean Cain for like half an hour, and I was like, why didn't you stop them?
Why? Like, why did you just stop them? Like, what do you mean a half hour? Yeah, see, Jason Font was there, and your boy Michael Copon was there at the Liverpool one. Good times.
Yeah, like it was so much fun. But the problem was, right, that the convention was like, oh my God, like, it's gonna be so busy and loads of people are there. They had hardly anyone at the desks whatsoever. So when we went up to, I think, the Ninja Steel cast, we were like, could we interview you if we could? And they were like, yeah, you could have, but the convention's watching. Like, they'll come over and stop this. But yeah, we've been bored out of our minds for the entire day. And I was just like,
oh, you know why? Because sometimes they have like the guarantees, and they can't just stop the line. Even there was no line. It could be something in their contract. I remember Francis telling me when they have these guarantees at the cons have specific rules on how they're supposed to conduct themselves at the cons. That way the celebrity makes enough money that the con doesn't have to pay them out of pocket for their guarantees. But wow. So you couldn't get that interview because Dean Cain did about an hour with somebody. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I think that if they turn around and said, "Oh, we can't guarantee this because all these guests are guaranteed money and stuff," all right, that's absolutely fine. Please let me know. But they were like, "No, you can just record the panels instead." And I was just like, "Great, this is like 2 days before the convention, and you're just telling me now." Great. I hope Dean Cain was worth it.
Oh man, this has been a great interview, man. It's been an hour. I know it's late for you, it's early for me. Anything last you want to plug about anything per se, like any content you got coming up or any questions you got for me? Because we this is really the first time we've talked in this capacity, if you will.
How do you feel about all of this? Because I mean, obviously with JDF and like how you've been talking to friends, it's like when you hear all this stuff coming about other rangers and stuff, how do you feel about it? Because that's always an interesting thing.
Well, I imagine that some people have bad days, but the Amy Jo Johnson stuff, I'm like, oh man, I've heard those rumors before. I know that she may not get along or want to associate with the fandom, and let alone other Power Rangers. So that's nothing new, and It sucks because so many people love her as our Pink Ranger. And so we never really, it's like we love her, but she doesn't love us back. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, know me for my other movies or know me for my music. And, it sucks for her, I imagine, because no matter what she does outside of Power Rangers, nothing will ever be as popular.
Yeah. So
it's just like it's a catch-22. She wants us to do A, we want her to do B. We're just always going to cross paths. But some Rangers, they have bad days, and some Rangers are known for having, every day's a bad day per se.
Amy's been having a bad day for 30 years.
Oh, I mean, I've heard she won't morph with you. She won't say it's morph. I've heard some things, but I've never met her, so I can't. It's not my experience. I'm just saying all of this is secondhand. She could be a great person. Amy, we want you to do an interview. Come on the show. I mean, I don't think she ever would, but it's just my show is just too controversial,
Don't know, just say like, hey, we want to interview you for the return, and then like bam.
No. She come for the return. We'll interview her for the return, but we'll ask her some hard hitting questions like, what's this stuff that Austin St. John is saying that everyone was down with the strike? Hey, can you talk about the kidnapping story where he saved some girl from being kidnapped on the way to the set and got bombarded by the cops? Stuff like that. Because she said, she won't even say his name. I saw an interview. She's like, oh, it's been a while since I've seen that guy or whatever.
Like, can you imagine? Like, he's tuning in. He's like, oh my God, she's going to say my name. It's like, that guy. Like, oh.
Oh, man. Look, I know he watched it, and I don't know what it is. I want to know where is her dissension lies with the fans, or not the fans, but the other Rangers. Because I know she gets along great with David Yost. They're partners in crime, but you never see her really at cons with other Rangers anymore. I mean, you used to see her with JDF, but not so much anymore. Anyone new?
I always imagine like if she got in contact with the others and just said like, same as what JDF said about the whole like, let's do this thing for charity, let's do it for the fans. It's those sort of things that bring in more people. But even if you weren't doing it for charity and you were like $600 and it was every single person like still about, I think people would be like, do you know what, I'd love to pay that. I know she doesn't owe the fandom anything, but it feels like she wants us to owe her everything because she said pterodactyl and that was it. And it's just like,
what, it will come full circle when maybe, we get a little older, her popularity tanks a little bit, and then maybe they'll all band together and we'll finally get that con with all the remaining Rangers. But as long as she's still the most popular and she can get, preferential treatment from venues and, her prices are the prices, I think we will never see a all Ranger Comic-Con in our life.
Yeah. That's grim. That is going to be grim. I'm just waiting for an autobiography.
And when the money dry up, it'll be a tell-all book for sure. For sure.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon it would be called?
Behind the scenes or something. And the crazy part it'd just be about Power Rangers because, you know, she'd be like, I don't want to write about Power Rangers. And then, you know, her editor is like, look, if you don't just suck it up and write about Power Rangers so we can sell this book, we want to know about you and Tommy or you and Jason. We want to know about the Austin St. John stories. We want to know all that Power Ranger shit. We want to know what's up with Shuki Levy because he got accused of like some Me Too stuff recently. I don't know if you've been following it. Yeah. And, you know, what was your relationship with him? You know,
yeah.
We won't get it. Don't worry. When the money dry up, we'll get it.
She can't live on Susie Q money for much longer.
I mean, that's Susie Q money. Then been dried up. That's why she doing cons. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man. But, you know, Airlim, this has been a great interview, man. I wish we would have got to do this sooner. We touched on a lot of great topics. I'm sorry about the time delay. But I appreciate, you know, let me plug your channel before everybody. If you are watching this, go to his channel, subscribe, check out his Ranger content. He does way more Ranger content than me. Please go sub. I've watched definitely the Vile video. I appreciate you covering it. And I hope to see you grow and maybe we can do some collabs in the future or something and talk Power Rangers.
I'm up for that anytime.
All right, let me end this.